Hello everybody, this is Natalie from Artful Transformations, and today we are going to learn how to transfer an image using the grid method. So that looks kind of like this. This is a Stitch cartoon that I transferred a long time ago. And the only reason I have not painted over it is because it makes a great reference when I want to talk about how to transfer an image using the grid method. So today, as you can see, I picked something a lot easier. So this is a soap company that I used to own, and it's part of the product catalog that I had. So we're gonna pick one of these images and we're gonna transfer it onto this piece of paper here using the grid method today. So to get started, what we need is, we need a pencil. It doesn't matter what kind. This is a 2B, it can be an HB, it can be an H, it can be whatever you want. We need a ruler. We need our image to transfer, and we need whatever we're transferring it on. I have a piece of paper today. You could use canvas, just like Stitch. You can use wood. It doesn't really matter. One of the great things about using this method is that we can go from this small image to putting a bigger image on this paper. And that's typically why I would choose this method over just using the tracing and transfer paper. So for my sanity today, I'm going to actually draw a box around this soap here so that I know where the lines end. You do not have to do this for your project. Sorry about my head if it got in the way. It often does. So, but if you have defined edges on your project, then you're good to go. I do not have defined edges because the catalog looked better without them. So, alright, so now I have defined edges. Let's see how big they are. So if I measure from one side to the other, I've got a 3-inch side and hopefully another 3-inch side. Yes, ish, not really. Just kidding. So let's see. Let's get me to 3 inches on top just to make this less complicated for today. So, because if we're doing a perfect square, it just will be easier to teach you. Alright, so we'll make that bigger. Okay, and we'll get rid of this internal line because otherwise we're going to get confused later. Get rid of this guy. Okay, apparently erasing on this paper is not easy. Anyway, moving on. That's weird. Can't find my other eraser. That's a problem for another time. Okay, so when we're gridding, we want to kind of create an easy mark for ourselves. Because what we're essentially doing is we're making basically little smaller canvases for us to draw in to make it easier for us to draw the whole image, because we're only going to draw the image one box at a time. So because this is 3 by 3, we could do 1 inch by 1 inch boxes, but if we did that, we'd only have 3 boxes to use, and I'll let you see what that looks like. So if I mark off an inch, this ruler's kind of funky, an inch, right? And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to do an inch and an inch down here just to make my line straight. Okay, so and then I'm going to connect it. I'm going to put a line through to make the first part of my grid. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing this way. So I know that this is 3 inches by 3 inches, so I'm going to do 1 inch here, 1 inch here, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do 1 inch here and 1 inch here, and I'm going to connect them. Okay. So if you are good with, like if we look at this square here, we're going to draw that specifically in that square. If you're good with that level of detail in one box, then you go for it and keep the 1 inches. If you want them broken down smaller so that maybe it's a few lines, within the box that you're drawing, right? Because if we broke this up a little bit more, there's a lot less in that box than if we keep this whole leaf section. So I'm going to leave that up to you. For the sake of today, I'm not actually going to do the detail on the inside. I'm just going to show you what it looks like to transfer it in the basic sense. So I've got this done, and I know he's 3 by 3. So I know this paper is 5 by 7. So I can't necessarily do a 6 by 6, like I can't double the image, but maybe we can make it just a little bit bigger. So if I want to do that, I know this is about 5 inches. So I'm going to do a 5-inch box. Okay, so 5 inches, and I don't know where this one would go, so let's find out. 5 inches down is right here. So I have a T-square that I could actually make this correct. So we're gonna use the T-square here and make this a square for real. Okay. Square. All right, so I have this, oh, and I know that this is the end of that, right? Because this was a little bit bigger. So let's make sure. Okay, so we have this 5 by 5 box that we're gonna transfer this image into this 5 by 5 box. So in order to do that, we have to figure out how big our boxes should be in this one if we only get 3 boxes. Sometimes this requires a calculator on our part. Sometimes we can just kind of fudge it. So let's see how well we fudge it today. So if we did 1.5 inches, 1, 2, that should about cover it. So let's do 1.5 inches. So that's 1, and then there's 2, and then, well, that's obviously gonna put us at 4.5. So maybe we just do a 4.5 square box and make it easy on ourselves today. If you really want it to be the specific dimension of your paper, you're gonna definitely want to go down to like the 8ths and 16ths on your ruler. But for today's purposes, I'm going to make this as simple as I possibly can so that we can just see how the image transfers. And I'm not going to complicate things by going into the 1/4 inch or the 1/8 of an inch or a 1/16 of an inch. We're just going to make it super simple on ourselves. All right, so we know it's square. We're going to do the same thing this side. So we're going to do 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches, and 1.5 inches. Okay. And we're going to do it the same way because we're going to drop off that extra 1/2 inch that we had. So 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches. We'll go ahead and draw these lines. Just building the foundation for where our new soap is going to live. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get rid of the things that we don't need, just so that there's no confusion as to where our grid is in the process. Because I didn't tape my paper down, it might get a little banged up. Okay, all right, so I've got my grid and I've got my other grid. So we're looking at that guy and we're going to transfer him to this guy. And now, since I've got these done, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to tape down my paper just to make it a little bit easier to move stuff around, make things work. Okay, so I've got taped. Let's tape this guy. I use a lot of washi tape, guys. Okay, so we've got this going on. Now the goal is to look at each individual square, and sometimes it's helpful if we block off the ones that we're not using with other pieces of paper. I'm not going to do that today, but if that's something that you need, then you go for it, okay? But what we're going to do is we're going to just create this in here. So I'm just going to do the outline. So I'm looking at this space here, and I know that this is a little bit bigger, so I'm going to kind of make it a little bit bigger, right? So that's where it might live on here. And then I've got these things happening. So I'm going to look over here and there's that space. So that's maybe kind of here. And just remember, as you're gridding this out, like, and this guy goes this way, so I want him to go that way still. So as you're gridding this out, you're kind of lightly doing it, right? Because I know that I am going to probably fudge this somewhere. Like, it's not going to just be awesome right out the gate always. So, just be mindful that if you do it in a nice light mark, it's a lot easier to get rid of it and start over. So this is about just a little under halfway. So we're going to go a little under halfway. See what that works. Okay. We get that angle right, probably not. There we go. And then this one, we know it takes up the whole box. And then we get here, and that's when it's going to come back up. So let's see. Perspective. So I'm here, and I want to go up here, so that's this. And I want to keep going, and it comes just under center. So I want to keep that line going, and we're going up to this guy. See, I'm kind of off. So I want to fudge this a bit to get him back on track. There we go. So we're going to go with that. That's where he's going to be. Now, if I was in my drawing class in college, they would be not super happy with the perspective on this probably, but that's okay. All right, so we're going to keep moving. So we're going to go from here and we're going to keep going down, right? So that goes there, and they're pretty parallel. So there's the space that we've got, and then it comes down, and this guy comes that way, and he kind of disappears a little bit. So we're going to kind of have to make him up a little bit just because of the way that this is. Right, and then we're coming over here, and we know that this guy comes down. So he comes down like that and moves over and comes over to this guy. Okay, so there's our soap, at least the outside of our soap, kind of there, okay? And then from there we can start building these other details. So this guy kind of disappears right here, and we don't see him again, but then he comes up down here, which is around here, right? So he's up, and then he comes down. Let's see, angle, just like that, and then he's got a little guy that comes across this way, which looks very much off when I do it that way, but that's okay. So he's there. Now, once we get the outside done, we can start looking at the inside and all these details in here. So you can see that, like, he's got this rounded off spot that goes over there, and it kind of rides along the line that we've got going in here, and he's a little thicker on the bottom, it looks like, so we're going to go that way, and we can kind of barely see parts of this, but we know that he's right on this curve here. And it looks like there's a couple of lines, right? So we can add those in. But basically what you're doing is you're literally just going like box by box. So we can kind of see that there's something there. And we can see that there's something here. And there's another line that comes through here. Right, and as we're building it, we're actually transferring this image. So like if I wanted to do this leaf here, I can tell that it's over here, real close, and it's coming in that way. So we're going to build him, right, and then we can go from there. So he's got like this little curve to him, and he comes down to that. But he's got this fella that's coming off right here, so, and he goes to the line. So it's just a bit different than drawing drawing from scratch, right? Just sketching straight. This way we kind of have a little bit of a guideline the whole time as to where these things live, which is why it's helpful, right? Because then we're not just sketching blindly, which is not a bad thing, right? But if you're lacking in drawing skills, this is sometimes an easier way to get the things to transfer in a larger capacity, right? Because that's why we're doing this one. We want it to be bigger. So we find out that this is part of that. Okay. And then this one kind of lives here and goes up and meets that. So we'll take this there, and it kind of comes up above and goes back and comes back up. But actually it looks like this one comes down a lot further than I made him come down. So we need to move him down a little bit more. So, but you kind of get the idea, right? Like, we can tweak it as we go along, so we can see that this one comes kind of straight across. Okay, so, and we can keep tweaking until we get it to where we want it to be. If it's going to be a drawing, right? If it was going to be a painting, like if I was just going to paint this, I would kind of just leave it the way that it is and go from there, because I can go in and I can add the different colors, right? We can see that there's a lot of dark color there, and then there's lots of white coming through here from where the light was hitting the soap and bouncing off of it because it's clear soap. So I would just leave it like this and go in and add my colors, right? Because that's going to add a lot of depth to it, and it's going to start putting things in place that don't necessarily look like they're in place now. And as you're looking at your subject, you're going to start to see some things that you didn't see. Like this looks like this is an indent. Like there's something here that I don't know what it is, but I know that if I put this white spot in, that it's going to create whatever that is. So anyway, so that is how we use that's how we use the grid method to transfer images from one to another without having to use the tracing and transfer paper, but also a great way to get from a smaller image to a larger image. Another way to make your images larger, especially if you're going to create something large like a mural, would be to use a projector, where you can actually project whatever it is that you are going to make onto the wall or the larger canvas, and then trace it from there. That will help you keep that perspective too. I know a lot of mural artists actually use that to help them scale their projects after they have sketched them out. So hopefully this video was helpful for you today, and that you'll use it in the future whenever you decide to transfer some images. If there is something that you want to learn that I haven't explored with you yet, please feel free to email me or message me or comment on this video whatever platform you're in, whether it's YouTube or Patreon, and just send me a little message and say, hey, I really like this video, or hey, I'd really like to see what happens when you do this, or can you teach us how to blah, whatever it is. I love to hear your feedback. It's always helpful for guiding me into giving you guys what you want. So if you would like more of these videos and you are on YouTube or on my email tribe, you can always come over and subscribe to my Patreon page. There's 3 different levels where you can get classes in one level, or you can get just straight studio time where you watch me create my original art in real time, unedited. So it can be sometimes very interesting, because sometimes I just talk about non-art related subjects. Or you can have the membership where they're both combined, where you can get these classes, the short ones and the long ones, as they come out each month, and you can get the studio time, and that's the inner circle. Also, if you are interested, I would eventually like to create an online community in my Patreon called the Core Cohort, where all of us can go and we can share our art, and we can share our experiences and share tips and tricks of the trade, and maybe even do some live Q&As. I don't know, like once a month or once a quarter or whatever it may be. So if you are interested in something like that, I would love for you to tell me that you're interested, and what you specifically would like to see in the cohort. Okay? So definitely send me an email or leave a comment or shoot me a message, whatever the case may be, and let me know what you would like to see. All right, so until next time, happy creating.